will be good indicators of that. So we're just kind of waiting on the throwing piece first before we decide. But we're moving in that direction.
Just to clarify, are you moving in the direction of having clarity or moving in the direction of having him pitch?
Yeah, both.
Okay, thank you.
Adam Sparks.
Yeah, I got to follow up on that. Is Tim, you've got on one hand, this could help him after Vanderbilt because you're looking after Jack's health. On the other hand, people start to get skeptical about why is he staying out? Is he injured? How do you balance all those different conversations, or maybe kind of keep those out of your thoughts?
Well, I don't think about them just because I think you're just dealing with the kid and what you're going to do for him. I think in today's pitching world, as we can see, both at the highest levels and our levels, I mean, Ole Miss is running into similar situations that we have, but no one escapes that. It's difficult to watch kids go down that way. So I think it's always first and foremost on your mind, Adam, in just terms of keeping the health. And how other people view that, I mean, that's up to them. There's really not much you can do about that. You just want to preserve the kid's arm and put him in a position of success, both for him and Vanderbilt, and then moving forward.
What's your read on your optional third guys? McElwain, Riley, Schultz, Little, those type of guys right now.
Well, I mean, we put Christian in that position the other day against Alabama. So I think if we get to that point, we'd probably move in that direction right there. We feel like Mac is kind of a kid that can help us 2 times during the course of the weekend. Not to say he couldn't start, but he's shown that he can pick up the ball several times. He's very durable. So we'll probably keep it to that right now with Christian and Riley and Leiter and Rocker, if a combination of those 4 kids.
Thanks.
Robbie.
Hey, Tim, one of the cool storylines from the last week was Elko, hitting on like a torn ACL or whatever his injury is. How does having him available, how do you think that changes Ole Miss's lineup and maybe galvanizes that team considering what he's going through?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, Tim is he is obviously an influence on that team, and he's I don't know if he's a captain or a leader. I can't speak to that, but it seems like he gave their ball club a surge, similar to a Kirk Gibson moment where a player comes back and does something that you're not expecting, whether it's Kirk Gibson, Willis Reed, that player that the team relies on, and they jump into competition and perform. So I'm sure that's good for the team, but he's a talented kid for sure.
David White.
Hey, Coach. Just Jack's update. Is his arm just kind of worn out right now? And tell me, what do you think the state of your team is heading into Ole Miss this weekend?
No, he needed a blow more than anything else. He just needed some time to recover from throwing over the past 6, 7, 8 weeks. No, I don't think he's worn. I think he's just going through the processes of a pitcher that he's never gone through it before. And go back to my point, he's still a young kid. He's still just a redshirt freshman when you think of it in terms of the COVID world. Forget about professional baseball and how he's seen and eligibility, all that stuff. He's very new to this situation, so he's learning. State of our mind of the kid's good, solid. I don't think much changes that way. I think they're pretty consistent kids in terms of how they view where they are, who they are, which is most important. They're confident, but they're certainly not a group that is distortedly confident in a distorted way. They've got the right level of awareness of who they are and what they need to do going forward to get better, which is most important.
Thanks.
Anthony McCarron.
Tim, I'm doing a broad feature on Jack Leiter for Baseball Digest, and I was hoping you could tell me the kind of origin story with him and Vanderbilt, when he came on your radar, how he came on your radar, and what it was like to get him to campus, and also his dad. I spoke to his dad, and he was telling me that, you know, one of the things that he likes about the way Jack goes about his business so much is that he seems to enjoy the work. And if you have an anecdote or a story that would illustrate the kind of worker that Jack is, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think going back to your initial question, I knew Al before I knew Jack. So I had a relationship with Al prior to us recruiting Jack. And recruiting Jack Brownie was on to him first because he was a New Jersey high school player. And he was actually a lot smaller than he is right now. I think Al and Jack have spoken to that. He was a pitcher first. He wasn't someone that had, the velocity piece was not a part of Jack. We recruited Jack because he was a pitcher, and skilled pitcher who could throw the ball over the plate with secondary pitches and a fastball. And we felt like there was a good ceiling to the kid. And I think you cheat a little bit because the dad is a former major league pitcher, the uncle's a former major league pitcher. So you're thinking, okay, there's pretty good genetics here. But I think going back to your second question, the kind of worker he is, I think that was very appealing about Jack, is he had an acumen for pitching, and pitching was in the front of his brain all the time. I would not call it work for him. I would call it a passion. He loves being down here. He loves talking about pitching. He loves to be about pitching. Everything that surrounds the skill of throwing a baseball at the plate, Jack is about. And it's been, as a coach that's seen some decent pitchers here, he's been really cool to watch because he attacks the training environment like very few do. And I just hope that the young people that are here are really paying attention to what he's doing, because the legacy that he's going to leave is how he operates in this particular situation and how people can gain an understanding of how you prepare yourself for competition inside of training and game environments.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Perez.
Coach, after the Alabama game on Saturday, you talked and answered questions about Riley's and the opposing pitcher's spin rates. Vanderbilt's baseball's use of analytics and tracking technology has advanced in the past couple of years. How has that transformed the way you and the other coaches coach, if any?
Yeah, I just think it gives us more real information in terms of, as a coach, what I think the thing that more than spin rates and so on is probably the visuals that you get from the slow motion video that we now have. I think the camera systems that we have allow you to see hand angles and grips and motions a whole lot better, because Brownie, being a pitching coach and have done this in a while, he sees things quicker because of his age and because of his experiences. But yet again, there's some reinforcement to what he's seeing based on the information that we get, whether it's high-speed video or the numbers, and it kind of validates what you see. So yeah, I would tell you that it certainly has helped us in the development of the kids. It just gives us more information without trying to bog down the player, because I think there's only so much you want to give them. You don't want to get so analytic driven that you lose the base of what this is, and that is being able to play baseball and being able to compete in this environment. Because you can see competition get taken away from kids if they're chasing other things besides playing the opponent or playing against the ball. So yeah, it's helped us in the training environment, but we try to stay within the white lines in terms of being able to compete against the game itself.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Lee.
Tim, I've covered you ever since you've been here. Two-part question. Is it fair to say you probably got 2 or 3 times the amount of injured players of significance than you've ever had at any season, number one. And number two, I'm looking across baseball, your league, Major League Baseball, injuries are just up. How much is just this weird last year where the season didn't go through last year and summer ball stopped and all the things that go with it has contributed to that? How much has that been a factor? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, that's very fair, because I do think it's attributed to a lot of the injuries that have occurred, both at the major league level and at the college level. I'm not sure, and I could be wrong. I'm not sure if I've seen this many arm injuries throughout baseball just in general. And I think there's probably a lot of stop and go for those kids. It was very difficult, Chris, in I guess in May and June, when we got an idea that we may be coming back to school, but really didn't know. It was very difficult to put a throwing plan together for those kids, not knowing when we would start, if we would start, are we going to have a fall? Are we not going to have a fall? And then, you basically left it up to the kids themselves in terms of doing their own throwing program, probably not throwing to a catcher unless they had resources, not having access to weights and strength training apparatus that they typically have here, certainly not engaged with coaches on a day-to-day basis. And I think for every kid that was playing college baseball, and even at the professional level, there was a lot of risk and there was a lot of chance in this. And I think now we're starting to see the scoreboard outcomes of the arms and the arms that are moving in a different direction and how guys are getting affected. I mean, DeGrom, case in point. And now I know his isn't an arm, but it's still an injury. And it still may have been the product of not being able to have a full year or at least a consistent training regimen. So yeah, I think it's hurt, and going back to what you first said, yeah, we've been dinged up quite a bit. And I try not to talk about it and really wouldn't, because I number one, we have other players here that are stepping in and that's great for them. But I think the reality is, guys like Hunter Owen and Nelson Berkwich, they would pitch, but now they're getting real opportunities because you don't have Doolin, you don't have Leboke, you don't have Ethan Smith. I mean, those you don't have Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles was a freshman that was getting some time. So now you pull 4 arms out of a 12 or 13 man rotation. Yeah, that stings. That leaves a mark. And but no one's feeling sorry for Vanderbilt. I can almost assure you of that, because we do have 50 full scholarships. So we can go out and grab anyone we want to and pay for their education. I mean, hell, I gave Maggie a scholarship last night. So we're fine.
Robbie.
That's a tough one to follow, but I mean, you mentioned Ethan Smith. Is he still, building back up after the soreness? I imagine, I don't know what's his status for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's trying to, Robbie. He's trying to come back, but I think, I don't know, I can't. He's frustrated. He's frustrated. I mean, he had great outing against LSU. You think it's going to catapult him, and next thing you know, COVID hits, and then then he's out for, I think it was 17 days, after you go through the heart procedure, and then you come back and try to throw, and the soreness, and he's frustrated. He wants to help our team, and it's too bad for the kid, because he's a good piece. He's a really good piece. So that's just day to day, Rob. I can't tell you whether he's going to be with us this weekend or not.
David White.
Of course, Patrick Riley was so impressive last Saturday. Do you see that something as a trend for him? Do you see that continuing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was good for him. I think it was a good response to the Mississippi State outing, because that was tough for him. It was tough for the kid, but I loved how he responded even in the dugout on that day. I mean, he was so upset and so frustrated, but then he got right back into the game. And I think really probably had a lot to do with how he rebounded mentally and physically. And then he pitched well against Florida. But it was a good step for him. That's all I'll say, David. I mean, I think it's a good step, good confidence booster for him. Great for our team. He went deep into a game. I mean, I couldn't have told you that he was going to run out 7 innings and get us into the 8th. We're just hoping that, he'd give us some mileage, and we were fully prepared to go bullpen after him. And then you look up and it's the 8th inning. We're able to go to McIlvain. So, good for him. But the SEC doesn't care what you did last week, right? It's what you're going to do going forward. But at least he's more confident than he was 2 weeks ago.
Coach, one more thing. Is Troy LaNave, a big part of is he a big piece going forward with the team?
He's certainly a piece. I think the thing that you learn also from injuries is you find kids that are starting to come, and he's starting to move in the direction that you felt of the player that you recruited. But that takes time, and yeah, good for him, and now it gives your club a little bit of balance. Now you start saying, okay, you might have some pieces here. If they're going to throw right-handed, now we can go left. If they throw left-handed, now you got, Bolger and Isaiah on the other side. So I think what it does just opens your eyes a little bit to your roster and what you're capable of doing. So I think it's all good. And I'm happy for Troy. Troy's been such a good soldier. I mean, very patient. He's got left off the travel roster, never says a word, low maintenance, just works, never bitching. He's a prize of a kid. I mean, I just appreciate having kids like that. And you could say that about a lot of them. They're very good about how they handle situations. And that's created some nice harmony for our team.
Nice, guys.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Coach? Excellent. Coach, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.